So, greetings of the hour to all our revered members of Walks of Life and all our August live audience. Thanks for tuning in into yet another awe inspiring and power packed session at Walks of Life. Welcome to yet another episode By the Way series, co powered by Creative Secrets. The theme for the day is Wonder Women. Let's talk about empowerment and equality. Now, before we delve into this extremely interesting and imperative topic, let me first of all introduce myself to you, your host and host for the evening. I am Badmanpreet Mahajan. I'm an edupreneur by profession, a communication and life skills coach by passion, a youth skill mentor by choice, an environment crusader and social edifier at heart. I'm also the founder of Genius Editorial, which is a coaching cum training institute, and I'm also the founder of Walks of Life, which is a virtual learning platform wherein experts and learners from different walks of life congregate to share their experiences, their viewpoints, their opinions, their learnings, everything for the sole purpose of empowering masses and transforming lives. Today's panel discussion is co-powered by Creative Secrets, your one-stop destination for all creative requirements like posters, flyers, logo designing, PPTs, visiting cards. The list is exhaustive. Creative Secrets is for all those people who have an expensive taste but are low on budget. For more details, please refer to the ticker below. Now it's time to talk about the F word, the F gender talks. In 2020 and 2021, now, it's no longer a scarlet letter to unabashedly brand yourself as a feminist. And thanks to the cosmic forces for that. Still, the road to genuine gender equality, along with all important nuances in between, intersecting with the power dynamics of race, class, sexuality, and more, is a long and a constantly shifting one. So, let's get inspired by words of some really trailblazing women who are best at it. So it's time for me to introduce our panelists for this particular evening at India. And let's start off with our first panelist. She is none other than Dr. Shama Hussain. Hello, Dr. Shama.
Hi, Ms. Bandhan. How are you?
I'm good. So, Dr. Shama Hussain is a gold medalist and educational professional with a doctorate degree in Gene Profile Studies, Leadership Management from ILM, UK. She is also the chairperson, NIST Muscat, Global Brand Ambassador at IAT-SAT, India and Australia, Brand Ambassador, Wednesday Times, Middle East Coordinator for Global Edu Leader Forum, 1000 Influential Women of India Awardee, Young Leader of the Year 2020 International Achievers Award, International Business and Academic Excellence Awardee. She has to her credit the pleasure of being a mega speaker award from world's number one coach JT Fox, is also Asia Pride 2020 awardee. She has been a guest speaker for more than 300 national and international conferences till now. Now that's really awe-inspiring a journey. Dr. Shama, pleasure to have you here with us this evening.
Same here. Same here. Thank you for this amazing opportunity, Ms. Bandhan. Thank you so much.
So our second panelist, Raina, will be joining us. I think she's already here. So in the meanwhile, I'll move on to our next panelist from Germany. She is our next panelist for the session, Dr. Irene Kaloubi. So, hello, good evening, Dr. Irene. I'll just add her to the stream. Hello, Dr. Irene. How is it at your end, at your part of the world?
It's wonderful, but it's very, very snowy in Germany. So it's a bit dangerous going outside and driving with a car.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm so glad to be here
today.
It's
a great pleasure. Thank you so much for being here, for taking time out of your hectic schedule. So let me go ahead and introduce her to our audiences here. So Dr. Irene Kaloubi holds a doctorate in industrial engineering and is a management consultant with companies such as BMW, Amazon on her CV. She is the founder and managing director of Brandpreneurs and Brandfluencers. She supports pioneers, visionaries, and change makers in 3 subject areas of community building, corporate influencer strategy, and connecting Gen XYZ. She is also an expert advisor for the European Innovation Council Accelerator of the European Commission. She supports the global startup scene in her activities as a mentor and coach at Techstars, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, Health Accelerator, InsurTech Hub, and as a judge at Bay Startup, the African Leadership Award, on the partner board of Unicorn Battle, on the advisory board of Women in AI, and on the advisory board of Ignite Mental Health as well. She is responsible for LinkedIn local community in Munich and has created a successful online discussion format, Topic Leaders, on LinkedIn to facilitate solution-oriented dialogue on economic as well as socio-political topics. Dr. Irene Kaloubi is also a lecturer in digital marketing and entrepreneurship at various renowned universities. And she is a much sought-after speaker at conferences and events where she enthusiastically shares her knowledge. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us this evening, Dr. Irene. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bandan, for organizing this because you are a real role model for me. Thank you.
That's indeed very humbling, very overwhelming. Thanks a lot. Let's move on to our next panelist for the session, Raina Khatri Tandon from India. She is a breakthrough coach, certified POSH compliance expert and training on many B2B organizations and trusts, and is also an external member to many companies in Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, and Chennai. She is the founder of Right to Rise, India's first and only ISO certified POSH organization, and is into training, compliance, and auditing. She has been a speaker at several international global conferences for women leadership and gender equality. She is a change strategist, a mindfulness expert, international mentor, and keynote speaker, women empowerment, entrepreneur, brand ambassador, and evangelist for several brands. I can just keep going on and on. The list is endless. So professionally, she is an MSIT VLSI chip design engineer from UK, an advocate LLB, Mumbai, certified human rights edX Harvard, and certified human rights IGNOU CHR. Besides this, she is the president of CISMME, Wiki, WEF, AALL, Maharashtra Training and Development Trade Council, and founder of RKT Foundation that focuses primarily on inclusiveness, gender sensitization, and equality and justice for women, children, and all genders. She has, to her credit, several national and international laurels. A few of them are Rex Karmveer Global Young Fellowship Award, Noble Asian Award winner of 2018, Global Dignitary Award 2018 again, Young EY Entrepreneur Award 2018. Now, again, the list of awards is endless, so I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Raina, for making it to the show today. It's really an honor to have you with us, despite your hectic schedule.
It's a more than a pleasure to be here with you, Bandhan. I think you always inspire many different lives and super women across the globe. I am really amazed with the dignitary panel that we have today. It's more than a pleasure to be here with these lovely ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
It is truly, it is, I mean, I'll totally second you on that. I mean, today the kind of panel we have is truly amazing. So having said that, let's move on to our next panelist. She's all the way from Malaysia, Miss Cheryl Witter. Hi, Cheryl. Hi. I hope you're doing good.
Doing good. Thank you so much.
Okay. So Cheryl is an educator and impact driver, founder of Lift As You Rise Educator at INTI International University. She is a passionate, determined, and innovative educator who integrates EdTech to socially engage her audiences for a transformative journey. Her love for engagement is further seen through her passion for moderating to create great chemistry on screen that has seen her moderate several multicultural and diverse panels across the globe. In her journey to unravel potential, she founded Lift As You Rise, which she runs impact projects like the yearly Emmy Conference, the bi-weekly Emmy series, and the Almost Graduate show that gives a voice to address areas that are critical to individual and professional development. From activating one's inner brand to mentoring young adults to engaging critical thinkers, she takes charge and thrives and empowers others to create that chain reaction to make that difference. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for making it to this particular program and for taking time out for all of us.
Very honored to be on this panel with all you lovely, powerful ladies. I don't know about you guys, but I can feel the power already surging. So Wonder
Yeah,
Woman,
yeah.
definitely such an apt title you have put here, and I can't wait to have this discussion with all of you. Thank you so
Me
much for
neither as well.
inviting.
As I mentioned, can't keep calm today. So, last but by no means the least, we have Ms. Priyanka Sharma again from India. And this is how her profile reads. It's very interesting the way you've put your profile across, Priyanka. So she says, when I started enjoying coffee, my first work assignment took me to a coffee estate. From the estate to the futures exchange, I learned how business function and round up quite literally. At some stage of work, communication started to take a center stage. And now she enjoys all the hidden aspects of communication, be it JavaScripts, analytics, Python libraries, design thinking, the impact of color on visualization. She enjoys investing her efforts with latent aspects that make communication visible, possible, and effective. She learns from what she observes every day, and she is on a happy journey of learning by observation. And I'm sure, Priyanka, there's a lot to learn from you today as one of our esteemed panelists. Thank you for making it to this panel discussion. I think, Priyanka, you're on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
I did not know that we are joining such esteemed people, although you read them and you interact. But it's really when you hear Bandhan and somebody as gifted and as dedicated as Bandhan to add me to a table like this, it's an honor.
I think the respect and admiration is mutual here. So, having said that, let's move on to our main topic, the main agenda for this meeting. And my first question goes to Cheryl. Cheryl, if we talk about women's rights, we talk about gender rights and women empowerment, I think we've come a long way from Susan B. Anthony in the suffrage movement. Do you think we still need to work for the cause of women empowerment? I mean, doesn't working and talking about women empowerment imply that we are still weak, we still are deprived, and we still need help? What is your take on this?
Interesting, right? The words weak being used, deprived. I think what's very important for all of us to understand is when we talk about empowerment, right? Empowerment is not inclusive to any particular gender, any particular person. Empowerment is needed by all of us, regardless. That's the first thing, right? And when we empower, we are doing so much more, not just for the people who hear us or listen to us and the awareness to everyone, but it's also people who us ourselves. When we empower others, it creates that energy and that power within you to keep on moving. It gives you that why, it gives you that purpose. So I think it's a bit misled for us to say that it's being weak or we are being deprived when are we still there? You see, we always want to be better as human beings, right? So we should always be empowering each other, empowering ourselves to move forward. So whether we have come this far or this far or this far, why not search forward? I don't understand the need for us to hold back, regardless of where. And we also have to understand on a global scale, women's rights are at different levels. Culturally, right? Even in Malaysia, in my case or from my culture where I grew up, I might be a little bit more modern and I might have better privileges in certain aspects, but it does not go across the board. And I'm sure the same thing all around the world with women, right? So we all need to hear each other's voices. We need to push forward. And regardless of, because sometimes we sit in our bubble, and I feel that in our bubble, we feel things are okay, but the situation might not be the same across the board. So I think that understanding, that empowerment, that awareness, that creation of that little surge of powers here and there, like listening to you, listening to all of you today, it's going to create that little, that little purpose, that little why, and it's going to make people want to do something, action. Yes, it starts with us talking, of course. We're like, y'all are just talking, right? But it starts with that, right? And that's what moves us. That's what gives us that surge to move on. I mean, that's what I think anyway.
Right. Thank you so much for explaining the dynamics of women empowerment so well. I mean, you've given an altogether different perspective, an altogether new perspective to this entire whole concept. Having said that, let's move on to our next panelist, and I think it is in continuation to what we just discussed. I'd like to move on to Raina. Raina, I read somewhere Mehnaz Afkhami once opined, women's empowerment is intertwined with respect for human rights. Now, since you are a human rights activist yourself, I would like you to share your insights on this.
So, thank you very much, Bandan, for this interesting question. Somehow it is so related to the present state or the situation in which I was in the last 2 days. I will only say a strong woman is one who is able to smile in the morning like she wasn't crying last night. We
Wow.
all undergo different phases in our life, and if a woman can stand up every morning, every instance, with more room for development, not only for herself and for the others, but also an effective strategy of how empowerment works. Because when women move in society, the economy keeps changing, and it is only with one thing in mind, and that is benefiting all. So today, yes, we
Absolutely.
have different human rights. We have rights like right to equality, right to freedom, right to speech, right to empowerment, and a lot of other rights that we have been given. And a very narrow line which is intertwined in that is that if we need to be empowered, then we need to be respected. Of course, if you, how does empowerment come? Empowerment only comes when you feel uh, the urge of being heard, the urge of being listened to, the urge of being lifted up, and that all means that there is a respect or a sense of dignity coming from the other sex. It doesn't have to be only a man, it can be a transgender, it can be an LGBT, it could be anybody from society, including the same sex. So, yes, human rights are giving us the power, but I would only say the power lies within. The rights are there with you so that you can empower yourself and the world. But yes, dignity and respect of women are always in our hands and in each one of us. So human rights are just merely a word. Laws are there. We've had laws since many years now. It's not about having more laws, it's about how we can implement the laws which are already existing. So
Yeah. So,
truly, it's all about oneself, whether that person is respected, dignified, and there's an equal space for a non-judgmental settlement where you and me
wow.
understand more than words. So yeah.
Brilliant, brilliantly answered. I think being a communication skills coach, normally I have a way with words, but today my panelists are leaving me speechless. So there's nothing much that I can contribute to your answer. Thank you so much for that, well stated, explicit answer.
Thank you.
So let's move on to Priyanka now. And Priyanka, my question to you is that empowerment in itself has several dimensions to it. So, how do you think can women be empowered socially in both urban as well as rural areas?
So my take on empowerment is like this, and I'd have to share what I fundamentally believe before I can say what women in rural and urban can do. My take on
Okay.
empowerment is that, so let me start with something that might sound silly, but nobody needs it, is what I have to start with.
Okay.
Now, that said, I understand at empowerment as something that is from within. So, if nobody needs it, then what are we talking about? The point that I want to make is
Absolutely.
that we are 1 billion plus in India and a few other billions across the world. If a human being has been able to live the day, close it with his eyes, and wake up next morning, he's living
Mm-hmm.
and he's fine. He doesn't need any more. The very mere fact that he's been able to pull himself through the day is means that whatever creation that God made is alive. So that's where we all are. That said, there is some part. Now I don't understand that part very well. I would love to understand that better in due course, here and other places where I pursue this. But that said, at some stage, a lot of us who've had a journey and have something in us to share are willing to spend time and effort to see what we want to share, that, for lack of a better word, extra resource that we might be privileged to. And in that search to find something better to do with the resources that are available to us, we want to then go on and select in MBA language target audience or people we can contribute to. So when I hear the word women empowerment, I think it is the resource that we all carry and have chosen to reach out to women. Now coming to empowerment and coming to women empowerment, I think women and their roles in society are very well defined. The only thing that women need, or the only thing that we as a society need to do for ourselves as human beings, is to offer safety. I'm worried for my daughter, and I'm worried for everybody's daughter. We are 48% of the population, and I had a very nice, and I'm missing the gentleman's quote. I would have loved to quote him. And these are not mine, but his words. We have 48% of the population, but something happens as night falls that it is better to not be walking on a street which is poorly lit. And
So
that
true.
experience is true across the globe. So let's not try to talk about empowerment and somehow over the years the word has become has become a depiction of people with placards making noise and creating ruckus. So that's obviously not what we want to imagine when we hear the word. It has a connotation and larger meanings to it. But what we owe to ourselves as human beings is safety. And that safety has to come from the society and our collective conscience, where we say that it's possible for people to conduct their daily lives without feeling threatened for their physical safety. And that is true for women in urban and rural areas. So, frankly, to me, safety and empowerment would be synonyms. And that is what us as a society collectively need to hold in our conscience and encourage for all of us.
Yeah, so I think that's an altogether different perspective, but it makes so much of sense. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for sharing your views on this. And another question, which is like very, very important, and I would like to put it across to Dr. Irene. Dr. Irene, gender gap is, I think, very glaring, even in terms of political participation. So, I mean, the social part of it has already been discussed by Priyanka. I think, what is your suggestion on the kind of gender gap that we get to experience in terms of political participation?
Well, I would love to add to what has already been said. So I think the first thing that we need to realize is that we can only transform the world with women. So I consider it twofold. On the one hand side, politics has to do a lot for us women. On the other hand side, we should also try to contribute. So women participation is needed in politics for an inclusive democracy. So one first suggestion would be to implement, for example, diversity departments at governmental institutions. And then we need equal rights, such as equal pay, equal representation in leadership positions. And this can be realized through quota or ratio for women in leadership positions. And one of my heart missions is also to foster women entrepreneurs, right? So I think at the beginning, it starts with an obligation, but then we should do everything that is possible that it comes from the heart, because gender equality can only happen if we firmly believe that an inclusive world is better for all of us, right? And that would be my suggestion in this case.
I think a lot of simple yet very pragmatic and very powerful suggestions. And I would like to contribute here what Raina just said. She said ultimately it's all about how we execute. So anything that comes from the heart, and then it is practically executed, is going to definitely make a whole lot of a difference to this world. So thank you for sharing your viewpoint, Dr. Irene. And I think, let's move on to Dr. Sharma. She's been waiting for quite some time, very patiently with a smile on her face. So, Dr. Sharma, my question to you is, how do you think has the COVID-19 pandemic actually led to the exacerbating gender inequality? How do you look at the future of women empowerment here on? Dr. Sharma, you need to unmute yourself.
COVID-19, this word itself has created lots of magic in the world. It has
Right.
brought overnight transformation in the world. Overnight transformation. In one sense, if you look at, it has brought lots of magical gifts to the world. But Ms. Bandhan, as you asked me one question regarding women, we are not happy. You know why? There are two perspectives. If we talk about pandemic, one thing is the being infected. The effect of pandemic is being infected. And the other one
Right.
is being affected. Infected and affected. So infected is the one that is we are all having, everybody, no discrimination, irrespective of caste, creed, everything. But when it comes to the affected, it has affected the women a lot. From the child till the women, from the child. If you start about the child, if you consider the marginal communities, especially marginal communities in sense the poor communities, because of all this inflation, whatever happened, their schools shut down. They have sent their children, the girl child especially, for child labor. And coming to the teenagers, they have undergone lots of problems. Teenage pregnancies have seen up. Teenage violences have seen up. Abuses have seen up. According to the these are the things that are happening right now. And as due to this closure of schools, even women who are working has to leave because of struggling between job. They have to compromise between the job as well as the family. And also they have to take care of the people who are elders at home and who are already ill, who are affected with these problems. So all these are shouldered to the ladies. So they are affected, not infected. So the women are affected in this one. So lots of problems, starting from teenage child, then teenage girls, and then adult women. Everybody are undergoing this type of discriminations, and lots of discriminations have seen up. Lots of sexual abuse happened. Lots of problems happened with the children with these cases, especially in these due to the no social protection happened. What's I can say one in Hindi? अपनी ही जिंदगी, अपनी ही जन्मी दुनिया में, अपनी ही जन्मी दुनिया में ये महफूज नहीं होती, अपनी ही जन्मी दुनिया में ये महफूज नहीं होती, क्या कहें हम लड़कियों की जिंदगी ऐसी ही आसान नहीं होती, क्या कहें हम लड़कियों की जिंदगी आसान नहीं होती. But I want to tell you all, I want to tell all of you wonderful ladies over here who are watching, everyone, I want to tell you that we try to be powerful. आप सबको powerful बनना है, इसलिए नहीं कि आप दुनिया को दबा सके, इसलिए नहीं कि आप दुनिया को दबा सके, but इसलिए कि दुनिया आपको ना दबा सके. आप सबको पावरफुल बनना है, इसलिए ना कि आप दुनिया को दबा सके, बट आप दुनिया से ना दबा सके, दुनिया आपको ना दबा सके. So try to celebrate your womanhood, my dear. It is a celebration. Being a woman is a supreme achievement. It is a supreme achievement, not a matter of despair, not a matter of fear. Celebrate your womanhood and influence your confidence and empower yourself.
Right. There are a few key takeaways from your answer. Number one, I think today is Valentine's Day. So what better day to actually learn how to love thyself, love one's own self. So I think this is a great day to be celebrating women empowerment in the first place. Secondly, what you mentioned is, I think we need to learn a lesson or two from nature itself. Nature has been such an equalizer. I mean, the recent pandemic itself gives us a lesson about the fact that nature doesn't discriminate. It's us who learn to discriminate, right? So we need to learn a lesson or two from nature itself. And for our audiences who were not able to understand what Dr. Shama Hussain mentioned, she just said that we are the ones who are the creator of this universe in a way. We are the ones who create life. and then we are the ones. I think I read this poem somewhere by the name Aunt Jennifer's Tiger. And this particular poem talks about the same fact. It says that it's Aunt Jennifer's who's creating those tigers. She's knitting them on a panel, and she herself is scared of them. So I think somewhere down the line, this COVID-19, when we see these increasing cases of domestic violence and abuse and other such forms of discrimination, I think this is one place where we need to definitely work upon. So, having said that, I think that was quite a brilliant answer. Let's move on to our next question, our second round of questions. And the first question this time goes to Priyanka. Priyanka, talking in terms of women empowerment, do you see the male and the female genders as two contrasting, ends of one same spectrum, or do you see them in terms of a continuum? Do we still need to talk of only in terms of women empowerment in specific, or gender empowerment for all in general?
I think for all in general, undoubtedly. Like I say, if you can spare the resource and you have to make your choices, we all are willing to make choices. But that said, I think empowerment, as I understand, is something where you not feed the horse, but you not feed, but you teach them to grow their food and cook and feed themselves. So
Right.
undoubtedly, it is gender neutral. It is neutral in terms of social
Yeah.
caste, socioeconomic background, occupation, gender, and the entire gamut of distinctions that you want to make.
Thank you so much. Rana, would you like to add something to this? I think you've been into these whole lot of cases that must be coming on to you. I mean, do you think it is mainly a problem of women empowerment, or do we need to talk in terms of gender empowerment?
So I think it's not a question of male or female here, because when it comes to gender violence, or when it comes to any of the cases, whether it's child abuse, women abuse, specifically talking about women, I feel women already have the power since many years. It's always about that one line I remember, which Malala always keeps saying: don't be afraid. If you're afraid, you can't move forward. And the second thing, if people were silent, nothing would change. So if there are certain people who stand up and talk, then ideally there is some movement on an improved version of the society or yourself. And if people are not talking, if people were silent, nothing changes. And most of the things that we are looking at today doesn't change because we are silent. I'm not saying that everybody should speak up, because yeah, we do say speak up to violence, speak up to the better self of yours, speak up to the equality, speak up to a lot of things that's happening in terms of violence. But when it comes to, even for example, if I get my maid and she comes running to me that mera mard mujhe marta hai, I'll convert that into English, because not everybody understands Hindi there. If there is a maid who's coming, or a house help who comes down to me and says that my man hits me or beats me or lashes me, all I can do is that, are you ready to file a complaint? Are you ready to stand up for yourself? Are you ready to talk about the dignity rights of whatever we are talking today yet? Let's come to reality. They all come back and say, no, I can't, because that's my husband.
So,
No,
Rana,
I
what do you
can't.
think? Yeah. Do you
So
think
I'm
it's
just
because
trying
of
to,
the
yeah.
backlash
So
of society that forces women into
yeah,
relationships?
absolutely. So it's all about society, societal issues. You're bang on to that, Bandhan. What I'm trying to say is that if we are so stuck to what society thinks, what society is telling us, we are so bound to not probably bringing it up. The only reason for it is we are not promoting gender equality as a critical part of violence prevention. When it comes to talking out, when it comes to social initiatives that are to be taken place in society, steps to be taken by school, which we always are promoting, some of them are doing, some of them are unable to, because they're very very skeptical about it. They think positive results might not come. Community interventions are required, which can empower women. And all these engagements, let me tell you, they will never work one sided. People feel, oh, women ko empower kar do. तो इक्वालिटी आ जाएगा. Media interventions, all these media interventions that come can alter a lot of gender norms, promote women rights. Programs must be always engaged with men and women together, with males and females together, with boys and girls together. Only then we can get these gender issues or the backlash of society that we are looking at today as a very, very important part on why we can't stand up. We say, stand up, let's stand up, let's talk out, let's speak up. It's very easy to say that. But when it really comes in to do it in action, when we are in between people, society, it all works the other way around. And why it's not working is because we're not working at a more collective society. We're working at a one-sided society, which is not going to help us come out of this very strongly. So my urge to all the people out here, are lovely dignitaries from beautiful countries across, let's just retrospect. I'm not going to tell you even to take any action immediately, because every country has its own norms, every country has its own laws. But at least as an individual, as a human, and as a most powerful Wonder Woman that we are called out here, Bandhan has brought us together because we do have some power in us, and I'm pretty sure all of us are very powerful. So at least we can help in with the people who are around us to take some initiatives as a community, some initiatives as an individual, and bring forth some change. I won't say millions of lives because that's too many. Let's come to reality. I don't speak big enough that we can't achieve, or we just don't talk in the air. But let's get down to doing real work. So even if we can touch maybe 500 lives in the next 1 year, I think that's good enough. You turn into another warrior of change like Malala Yousafzai and many other warriors who we look at.
Absolutely. And I think what you just mentioned about is, it's all about awareness, it's all about sensitization, it's all about addressal of the problem.
Spot
And when
on.
you say stand up, yeah. So, and as you said, stand up, speak up. I think we need to stand up, but we need to stand up together. We need to speak out, we need to speak up together. So
Right,
that's
right.
really important. And I think you brought out a very important fact that it's not just about the girls, it's the boys also who need empowerment. It's
Yes,
all about gender equality. And at the same time,
true.
we need to have that mindset amidst both the boys, the girls, and the other such genders that, I mean, they need to come up with this thing that, yes, we're all equal. So that's really, really a very strong
Superb,
point that you've
superb.
made. And one more thing that I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you would like to throw light upon in terms of legal recourse that can be adopted by women in this regard?
So yes, with regards to laws, if I can tell you about women, yes, we have POSH laws, which is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. Of course, in India, it's called Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013, Prevention, Prohibition, Redressal, which addresses on the abuse, harassment. But in many different countries, like we have different countries and who are out here, it's either called an anti-harassment policy or a sexual harassment policy or a POSH policy, and it's very individualistic. It's not only stuck to only women. In many countries, it's for both genders. In some countries, it's
Okay.
only for women, and some countries they don't have it at all. So it's sad that they don't have it there, because then
Yeah.
over there you have violence very widely accepted as a form of their life. But it's very, very accepted. In fact, they are okay with having any kind of pornographic content. They are open to stalking and picking people, including women and children. Abuses are openly happening, and that's the way of life that law is following in those countries, which is
That's
again
very sad.
not objectable by us. But people over there should be standing up for themselves, is what I can say. We can't be
Right.
fighting a war for somebody who doesn't want to fight a war. Okay, so
Absolutely.
it's like
Yeah.
giving your hand and telling, pull me out from the digging pit, when the person doesn't want to give you the hand. So
Right.
I think
Makes
हम
a lot of
उसी को
sense.
बचा सकते हैं जो बचना
जो
चाहता है.
बचना चाहता है, right.
Yes.
So
नहीं
ultimately,
नहीं
the
तो
one who
हम,
wants
I
to
think
save
we can only
himself
say
is the
God
one
bless
we
you.
can help. Yeah, right.
True,
So,
Bandhan. So coming back
yeah.
to that last line, I'll close it for you. So the laws are, POSH laws are there. There's POXO for children. For gender violence also, we have Domestic Violence Act. So these laws and acts are there to support women so that they don't undergo the violence, the abuse, the harassment, the pornographic, the unwanted sexual favors, the requests, the touches. We know them, and if you are more than happy to wanting to know more, I would really, really get down to giving you all the knowledge. But laws are just there, friends. Let's see. I will not
I
want to
want to
speak
take
big
from what
here.
Prerna is
Yeah,
saying.
I would not want
Yeah,
to just speak big here. Yeah, Priyanka, we'll just hear you in a minute. I'll just quickly
No, I don't
connect
want
this
to
and
cut
then
you
you can
out.
go
Please,
ahead,
please,
please.
it's
I would
okay.
love to hear you as well. So laws are all there, but if we get into reality, it's so sad that, see, when I look at the number of cases in the last 6 months, I'm looking at not thousands, but 10,000s over the entire country. And in the last 6 months, maybe we are looking at something around 11,265 cases across the country, in India alone, in all different states. Okay, so this is a huge number just to look at one aspect, which is abuse, harassment, assault of women. There could be now a gender violence, there could be a domestic violence, and many other different aspects. Uh,
right.
are we really looking at something like this happening on a long term? Because it's said that by 22nd century we'll have the number going to 10 times of this, which is very sad. Yes,
Absolutely.
I think I would also like to hear Priyanka, because she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
also wanting to introspect on this. Yes, go ahead, Priyanka. I'd love to hear
Yes,
you.
Priyanka.
So something that I'm glad I'm saying it here, and I'm glad I'm saying it on the internet. Something that I've said it in my close friend circle, and something that I've when I used to first speak about it, I would not be sure if this is what I should say in public. But
Yeah,
this is
yeah, true.
with life experience. Thankfully, I'm not talking about a bad experience that I want to tell everybody. I'm not starting a Me Too part two. But what I want to say is that, and I want to take from what you're saying, two things that I've consciously and quite literally aggressively, which is not what I want to follow, said that if I have had a bad experience or if I suspect anybody in my known circle of people to be fishy, and I'm sure women at this table understand what I mean, I speak and I make sure that I speak about it to every woman in that forum possible. And I consciously make an effort to share what my experience is. Let's not be blasé. We have daughters who are growing up, and if I can't teach her, and I can keep teaching her, but if I can't give her the space to speak her mind, at least to me, and if I can't speak up my mind to my neighbor and the lady in my neighborhood who also has two daughters, I am doing a disservice to those around me. So,
Yeah,
like you say, every
that's so
one
true.
person starts to make the change. So, I consciously follow that. And the other thing I want to also submit, maybe it is value to your work, that I think we have the laws, but there is a huge gap between what the law can say versus what can get implemented. And that gap is so beautifully played by those who know it better. So it's really the gap which breaks your heart. So you do kind of follow. I personally follow this topic with harassment, and I've had the misfortune of watching at least one case in real life with a small child that got discussed in a bunch of respectable forums, and it didn't go the way I thought, because I was this law-abiding citizen who thought law will take its own course and justice will be served. And this is after some very stringent laws were passed in India. And when I read them, I said, okay, good, somebody is talking about it. Now it'd be more difficult for people to just get away, but people just get away, and that's reality.
Yeah,
So we need to be aware of this. And as people who know law
yeah.
better, they have a bigger challenge than they thought they did.
Very true.
Yeah, and I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Thank
exactly the point that Rana was trying to make right from the beginning of this panel discussion, that there's a long, long way to go for all of us. And I think what we were just discussing about is something that I'd like Cheryl to go ahead with. Cheryl, there's a huge movement among women to empower one another, to secure equal rights, to challenge gender narratives, to establish a brighter future of our daughters. I think this is something that we were just discussing about. This movement has traveled the globe, but having said that, we actually need to make some changes right from our homes. So, what are your suggestions in this regard?
Um, just to digress a little, right? what Raina and Priyanka were talking about, the laws and the legalities, and what the laws are there, but are they working? That's one, right? And then you also said something about you can't push the horse to the water, right? So the women don't want to reach out, and I just want to bring up one example from there is that a very close friend of mine went through this situation before, and it's really and we talked earlier about urban and rural areas and things like that, and my friend comes from a background where considered lived in the city, well educated, master PhD holder, that kind of a level. You would assume with education and things like that, the way women we think, the way we look out for information, the way we understand things about women, our rights, violence and things like that would change. But surprisingly, even women who are well educated, we know there are laws out there, we know what's right, we know what's wrong, but if we are put in that situation, how many of us will reach out for help because of the cultural background that we come from, because of what we think society will say? And that goes back to the question that Mani just asked me, right? I think it's so important for us to start at home. And to all the lovely ladies sitting here, to all the men listening, to all the women listening, you all play a part. And it starts from your house. It starts from how you treat your daughter. It starts from how you treat your wife. It starts from how you bring up your boys. Yeah. It's no point we talk about women empowerment and, women rights and respect. If I myself don't respect my husband, my husband doesn't respect me. If I don't respect my daughter, and I love what Priyanka said. I love what she said about, like when you want to talk about issues of empowerment, and a lot of us sometimes hold back because what's society going to say? Am I being too Bandan talked about this in the beginning, right?
There's this something called evaluation apprehension. How will people evaluate me? How will they judge me on this?
Yes, am I being too much of a feminist? That means do I hate men? There's always that whole man against woman thing, but it's not about that, right? And Priyanka said this, right? If I myself am afraid to speak about this to my daughter at home,
right,
what's going to happen? So it really needs to start with education at home, right? When we bring up our kids, it starts from the house, right? How do you teach your kids? A lot of parents, from young, we've taught our kids certain gender roles. For example, men must do this, women must do that. So in their minds, it's already set from young. We've programmed their minds in a way, this is what you should do. We don't look at it. There's no symbiotic relationship. There is no complementary. And that creates a lot of issues later on in life when they have their own families, when they have their own kids. And we talk about from home, right? We talk about, we should speak about this, we should speak. But are we teaching our kids to speak up? Are we are we giving them freedom of choice, right? I mean, we all need to look at the mirror and ask ourselves, we are talking about it, we are preaching about it perhaps, but are we giving that freedom of choice to our kids? Are we allowing them, or we go like, shh, that's sensitive, let's not talk about it? And in Malaysia, especially when it comes to cultural, just let's leave it there, let's not really talk about it. It's not such a and what are we teaching our kids? So I mean, I'm really blessed. I come from a family where it taught us to speak up, and there are always consequences when you speak up, right? Politically, economically, socially, culturally. But that empowerment we give from the time the kid is, and I believe that starts really young. You don't have to start when the kid is 12 or 13. I have a 3-year-old, 3 years old, right?
And obviously he learns a lot from observation.
Yes, what we do, right? We are role models. Do we show those diverse roles? Do we show our diverse roles, and who we mix with, who we expose them to, the media? I have to talk about media because I come from the background of social media, right? What are we exposing?
There's an echo. I think. Just a minute. If someone is using two instruments simultaneously, you could just put that off for a minute and then this echo will go. Okay, Cheryl, can we have you again?
Sorry. So I said I teach media, right? And I think one important thing that we are constantly exposed to on a daily basis is the media, right? What our kids watch on a daily basis, and that impacts what our kids play with, for example, right? And the whole body shaming thing, idea of beauty, I was just talking to my students recently when we talked about empowerment, right? And I said, we grew up in Malaysia, right, playing with Barbie dolls. They don't look anything like us. Nothing.
Absolutely.
In terms
So
of
true.
color, in terms of the body proportion, nothing. We grew up and we don't think much about it, right? I played with Barbie dolls all my life, but when my kid came
Right.
around, my husband and I are both from the media side. We said we need to be very conscious about this because we don't realize how it's impacting our kids in the long run. They don't love their skin. And we
Completely.
all
For
are.
them,
We all
everything
are
is perfect. Everything has to be perfect. But then life
we
is all
all
about
basically
imperfections.
colors, right? But we're not used to seeing that. So when you see your dolls, you see the media, everything looking nothing like you don't appreciate. So it goes on so many different dimensions. I think if we sit and talk about women empowerment and what we need to do starting from home, I think the most basic is education. What we teach our kids, and I'm not talking about school syllabus or university syllabus. I'm talking about what we mothers, we fathers, we grandparents, what we tell our kids. We need to practice what we preach, and we have to be very honest with ourselves. And it's not easy, right? Because we have to watch every single thing that we do, our mannerisms, how we behave, what we watch, what we hear, and it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, but I would say, I don't want to spend too much of time on this because I'm sure Pandit has a lot of questions, right? But I think we need to start being very conscious of the little things that we do, because those little things, little by little, it becomes a lot, and that is what impacts. So as much as we can, we try to create that strong pillars and foundation. So when our kids go out there, right, one, they can face the world. Two, they can empower others, and they can empower themselves, and we don't have to worry as much.
Right.
We'll still worry, we have
Yeah.
parents will worry. But yeah, that's how I'll put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the word that touched me the most was, it's all about developing symbiotic relationships. So that was very beautifully put forth by you. Thank you so much. Now let's go to Dr. Shama. Dr. Shama, we've been talking for so much time now, talking about starting from home, talking about the laws, but I think let's go in the reverse gear now. And first, let me ask you, what do you think are the barriers to women empowerment or equity in the first place? Dr. Shama, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
No, it's
It
okay.
is okay. When we talk about barriers, I can say there are constellations of barriers. It's not just a barrier. It's a constellations of barriers. But we women are inherited with a special character called as womanhood, which is able to overcome those barriers. So that's the reason women are given, means we always call the toughest battles are given to those soldiers who are able to can face battles, handle their struggles, right? So we are the toughest soldiers that can handle those battles, toughest battles. So that's the way I can say we are not means everyone, of course, each and everyone, irrespective of the gender, each and everyone having these barriers, but women specifically, because she is being a multitask in the society, she is having constellations of barriers. And I can say that it can be physical, it can be social, it can be mental, it can be economical. There are so many barriers are in her at her doorstep. And according to the world, if you look at the world level, still the playground is not leveled. Still the playground is not leveled. There are lots of bumpy roads. There are still lots of bumpy roads, and women needs to be a strong wheel on it. Then only she can overcome those barriers. For example, if I talk about economic barriers, for example, if you ask me about economic barriers, like this is the of course education is somewhere it is coming up, but coming to the education, coming to the economics, due to lack of knowledge in the families, men and women not educated, and due to the long hierarchy that is existing in the families, which says that women means they are not allowed to give any social rights, and even men sometimes feel insecure to share, even in her share the share. Is not ready to share the share because of lack of trust. Exactly. So there are so many things happens. There are so many factors still, because these are all lack of knowledge only. Means it's not applying. This doesn't apply to each and everyone. But yes, it's still the playground is not leveled, and this becomes intensively high. This factor becomes intensively high when it comes to the matter of religion. Sometimes some cultures, some ingrained cultures, some stereotypes, cultural backgrounds, which will intensify these barriers. These barriers, so these barriers will be intensified by them. So these are all the struggles, like physical, educational. These are all the barriers which women has to take up. Has to, for example, now International Monetary Fund, World Economic Forum have declared that without women's participation, without liberation of women during in terms of economic development, there is no development possible. And almost every year compared to the previous year, there is lots of scopes of development is progressing. But AWEE, Advanced Women Economic Empowerment Program, is taken up by the UN Women's, and this is working day and night to bring up this, to remove the racial discrimination among even in the companies. You can see the segregation at workplace. It happens.
Right.
Sharing of responsibilities. There are at least, okay, it's not applicable for everywhere, but yes, there is still. So as I said, the playground still has to be leveled. So this is, of course, it's going to happen. So definitely, but what I would like to tell to each and every woman, that we cannot control the direction of the wind. We cannot control the direction of the wind, my dear friends. But what can we control? We can control the sail of us. How, in which direction we can go, and to which destination we have to reach. So take care of this feminism. Feminism is not to show to everyone that you are strong. Of course you are strong. There is nothing to show. Women is already strong. Everybody knows that. The feminism is something that in which area you are strong, your projection of your strength in a proper way, in a proper channel, that is the feminism. Please try to understand this, because whether it is a man or women, all are empowered. Everybody are having equal rights. Everybody are as a cycle, as a bicycle can move ahead only when the two wheels are balanced. In the same way, men and women, when they're balanced, only the life cycle will run up. So there is nothing called feminism. Only thing is, you have to show how strong you are by being yourself. That is the beauty of yourself. Creating yourself, not letting anyone to decide that whether they like you or no. They are not the ones to like you. It's your job to like yourself. So don't give anyone the job to like themselves. Overcome all the barriers with your self-confidence, with your empowerment. Fuel yourself always.
Thank you so much. I think you've enlisted almost all the barriers that are there to not just women empowerment, but gender empowerment at large. And I loved your bicycle analogy, by the way. And having said that, I would like to kind of thank a few of the people who've joined in here. I would like to thank Arazu P, Shivani Dhiman. We have Rajesh Malhotra, Aziz Ilghazi, Sapna Gupta, Subhash Sharma, Sushma Parikh, Kanan Parikh, Rosie Upal, Rabia, Harinder, and Gundeep. Thank you so much for joining in, guys. Thank you so much for appreciating, and thank you so much for giving your valuable insights as to how you're feeling about this whole show. So let's move on to our next question, and this one is for Dr. Irene. So, Dr. Irene, my question to you is: let's talk about online activism. The reason being, everything has gone online these days because of the COVID-19 thing. How, according to you, can we use the internet to accelerate women empowerment?
That's a very, very interesting question, Bandan. But before I answer this question, I would like to touch on what Cheryl said previously, because I would like to share my experience
Please
with
go ahead.
you from Germany. So recently, so many clients come up to me and ask me, do you also work for men? Do you also coach and consult men? And other questions were like, okay, we need you to set up a social media program. But first do a normal program. Afterwards, we can think of doing a special program for women. And then I asked him, like, why do you come? Oh, because I've seen you on LinkedIn and you're some kind of feminist and so on. But to the term feminism, I will also touch on it. And one from my network said, like, oh, Irene, you have to be careful not to speak out so loud about female empowerment and so on, because then people might perceive you as if you hate men or you don't like men, right? And there was a post, someone posted about an expert panel with, I think it was 30 people, right? It was like a little summit. And amongst these 30 people, only one woman was there. And I had to comment on this. And I said, like, oh, wow, impressive, 30 panelists, but only one woman. And then he replied to me and said, like, oh, we had a feminist here around us. And then
I'm actually wondering as to what men would be saying about our panel discussion today, because we don't have any men on the panel this evening.
Exactly. They would probably also complain. And then I answered, like, and I said, like, if you consider the term feminism or being a feminist, it's a positive, something positive. Even a man can be feminist. It only means that being a feminist means I want equal rights and opportunities for men and women. Nothing less and nothing more, right? So that's the only thing I wanted to add up. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for your input. So now I would like to answer the question is, I feel that this is the best time ever to stand for women empowerment, with all the opportunities that, for instance, social media offers us right now. And there was a study from McKinsey in cooperation with many different research centers that revealed it will take us, keep tight, 250 years until we reach gender equality. And I feel that we can do everything to accelerate it through the power of internet, right? So it's about us to speak out loud, to make women visible, to encourage everyone to globally participate. So it can happen through many different campaigns. There's so lovely ones like Transform Her, Yes She Can, or Lift Her Up, and so on. So let's make use of it and also encourage others to participate, right? And I feel there's so many female networks out there, great networks. Now it's about time that we all come together, unite, and fight for the same mission. Understand what I mean? Because it doesn't help us anything if there are only so small groups and networks doing their own thing, right? So that this would be my suggestion. And also, like you are doing it, Bandan, right? Start with the foundation, holding workshops in organizations, conducting summits, conferences, panel discussions like we are doing here. And it has already been said previously. And I also emphasized on saying that we need women to transform the world, but we also need strong, courageous men that help us in our mission to foster female empowerment. So it's also great to see men who are depicting themselves as role models for female empowerment, right? And it's also been already touched, but I just want to add up, I truly agree that it starts with the education. We need to show our children, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, you can become everything you want in life despite your gender, okay? And so I just want to motivate everyone to keep on going, because all those resistance show me that we are on the right way. The more resistance we face, the closer we are towards accomplishing gender equality. And please, let's accelerate the 250 years that it may be possible within 5 years.
Right. Thank you so much. I think this entire talk about, males being feminist has altogether added a different dimension to gender equality at large. So thank you so much for that insight, Dr. Reen. Now, moving on to our last leg of the panel discussion, empowerment, as we all know, can be divided into five main parts: social, educational, economic, political, and psychological. So one by one, I'd request each one of my panelists to, come forth and discuss upon one of these domains each. And so first, let's start off with Raina. Raina, please, could you throw some light upon the social aspect of women empowerment?
Okay, thank you so much, Bandan. I've been listening to such lovely insights. I'm just speechless now. Simply wonderful, enjoying the discussion. I think I liked each one of you speaking so many different perceptions of life, including Cheryl,
Seriously.
including Dr. Irene from Germany, Dr. Shama, and Priyanka. So I'm just thinking, is this really a panel that we should be discussing, because we are so empowered already, and we have such wonderful women here who feel that every woman can be empowered. Now, on the social level, I think it will be very foolish if I'm going to say we don't have women empowerment, because we have it all inside us. And let's understand, feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. We have the strength. It's about the change the way we perceive the strength. Okay, there is, in certain cases, there is no equality between men and women, because men and women can be successfully strong in their own perspectives. It's only the way we see it. Some of us are becoming that, it's only about men, it's only about women. I think women are foolish to pretend that they'll become equal to men in certain areas, and they are not actually equal, or they can never be equal. But I'm going to say something, just listen to it very carefully. We can never be equal to men, but we are any which ways highly superior to them. Okay, there's so much to
Good
us
one.
that, if we start counting our fingers on our nails, we can go endlessly, that we do this and this and this, and we are capable of this and this. So equality can never be equal. Let's understand that. Secondly, leaving the leadership and pay and equality and gender sensitization, yes, we can still bring all those aspects together. In that also, I think men need to understand women are capable. That's number one. Women need to understand, let the poor men be there. It's fine. Sometimes you just need to make them understand that, we are difficult, but we are capable. That's number two. Number three, in the social economic level, for people who can't speak up. Okay, I know I might be sounding really funny, but these are some funny thoughts of mine which come in when I deal with people across, whether it's in my legal aspirations of meeting organizational professionals at Right to Rise, with working with trainings, compliance, and audits, or working on a social level with very naive women who don't have knowledge in this area of what we call as women empowerment or gender sensitization. When we are dealing with women, never limit yourself because of others limiting your strength, thinking or imagining that you are not good enough or you're not capable enough. There are 5 social norms that will shut you down and that will allow you not to potentially succeed to whatever you want. And one of them is patriarchal norms. We cannot fight it, because that's inbuilt in us, whether we are in Germany or US or UK or in Malaysia or anywhere, even India. We are built in that kind of culture where we have seen men playing a role which is much more stronger than us, but women being much more capable. So, as women, what we can do is just stand up for ourselves, whether it's silently or whether it's speaking up. Second, we must stand up for the other women who are there, because that's something I see lacking. Okay, if there's somebody doing something wrong to another woman, we wait like as if it's nobody's business. Only when we know that person, we speak up, and that's really sad. So, like Irene and Shama and Cheryl and Priyanka said, we should at least start standing up for ourselves and whatever we wish to speak up for. We must stand up for each other. We must stand up for justice. We must stand up for rights. But we must stand up for at least what we believe. I know what we bring up to the table is much more higher, much more intellectual, and we are a complete circle where we think about different aspects, both emotionally, patiently, practically. But I think gender equality can only be built when we understand that, speaking up or silencing out both have to be done in such a creative way that tomorrow we know that, we can do it all and we don't need anybody else. So that's all about
Right.
women empowerment at the social level. Chahe wo gareeb hai, chahe wo ameer hai, whether it's somebody sitting in the villages or somebody sitting in high level cities or even in the towns, every woman knows that she's very capable. Let's face
Yeah.
that.
And
Okay,
with that answer,
डंडा
you
लेके
swept
मारना
me
है
off
तो she
my
will pick
feet.
up. Yes, we've seen movies, we've seen media. There are women who pick up those saddles and they can even hit you, they can even beat you, and they can even stand up for themselves. Yes, one aspect which I would want to speak up about is that even though we have all that, yet there are women who are vulnerable, and where our vulnerability lies is what Priyanka noted and said in the beginning. We give up to a lot of emotions because we are very nurturing. We care for our relationships and we care for what people will say because, again, that's connected to society and societal beliefs that, if a man can be in a live-in relationship, why not a woman? Okay, and there's no shame to it. If you like it, that's fine. But secondly, when you are so empowered, what is the example that you're setting for your family? Okay, so
Right.
there has to be a line that you draw. Women empowerment can be there, equality and justice can come in, but not at the stake of relationships. Secondly, yes, we can't fear that we are less stronger than men. That's where we fail sometimes, even if we are doing self defense or even if we get to know the best of techniques, somehow that power is always there. So the roads are sometimes unsafe. All we can take care is safety. So those two aspects, I would say, on the social level, if we are standing up, we stand up for each other and for ourselves. And relationships, yes. With kids, I've always said we start from home. It's not even about home; it's about me. So I would counter what Cheryl said and what Priyanka said. She spoke about girl. Let me tell you, I have boys, and I'm still a very concerned mother. And I always wonder, how much should I keep drilling my sons to tell them how do you respect your mom, your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, or your friends? I am more concerned because today even boys are very open to getting abused.
Right.
So I would not say it's not about a mother talking to a daughter. It's more about a mother being more aware about her children, how they are being nurturing, growing, and how respectful can the boys grow. Because it's important to teach the men now, not the women. We've taught enough to the women now. So that's it. And I said my
So,
last word for you, Bandhan. Thank you so much for
point
having
stated
me on
and
this
point
social level.
taken. Yeah.
Yes.
So now let's move on to the educational part of it, and I would like to talk to Dr. Areen in this regard. Dr. Areen, we'd like to hear about educational empowerment from you.
Irene, did you say Dr. Irene?
Yes, Dr.
Hello?
Areen.
Okay, yes,
Yes,
definitely.
yes.
So we partly already touched on it a little bit, that we said it all has to start early on at primary school, for example, showing people or young adults to really not to differentiate, like to say like, okay, girls have to play with Barbie dolls, or you can become a nurse, or you can to show them, even if I'm a girl, I can also be an astronaut. I can even be a pilot, right? And here, experts like all of us can go to schools and teach them, hold lessons or lectures, and show them like, okay, I'm not an ordinary woman, right? I have children. I can work at the same time. I maybe also, I don't know, for example, I'm a business engineer, right? And most of the time people have like prejudices, because of my appearance. They say like, oh, I thought you studied something like arts or history or something or music or something like that. Oh, you're really a business engineer. How come? And I said like, how come? I registered at university to become a business engineer. As easy as that, And I also noticed that when I was at school, and they have been offering us like courses on internet, computer science, and so on. I was always one of the few ladies out there. So I always asked myself and some of the other girls to say like, oh, why are you doing this? Because that's for the boys and so on, So what about our perception? It's in fact what we teach our children, and I feel like when we are mothers, I don't have children right now, but I can feel you. So if we are mothers, we have a great responsibility, right? So don't educate, for example, your little girl or your boy with all those cliches and those role models. And I feel like we women also do the mistake, like showing them like, okay, your mommy is cooking and your daddy not, or
Right.
I don't know. I have to dress you up in pink and so on. For example, my mom used to dress me in because she loved it. She loved this marine look in blue and white, and people kept, is it a boy? But she looks like a girl. My mom said, no, it's a girl. But I don't like pink because why is she supposed to wear pink? No, maybe that's why I
Right.
love pink so much right now, right? Since I grew up. So it's all about education. Also like familiarizing girls with topics like computer science and artificial intelligence and so on. And the other hand side, also not laugh about boys when he said like, I want to be a male nurse, for example. There was one in the executive board from a large corporate in Germany. She said once her two children came back from the kindergarten, she asked like, oh, how is your female supervisor? And then they said like, no, it's a man. And she said like, oh, I felt like I have myself this unconscious bias. And I think it's all about unconscious bias to really try to eliminate it. Why do you always think that a teacher or an educator at a kindergarten has to be a woman? Why can't it be a man, So I think it's all the change really early on that we should foster here. Yeah. And for example, you probably also have it, we have in Germany like so-called special programs in technical areas for women, right? So just to protect them if they feel like, okay, I'm a woman, I'm not as good as a man. So just to foster them to have a secure environment where they can try out themselves.
Absolutely. So I think you shared a whole lot of insights about how we can ensure that education can be used aptly to empower both boys, girls, or any gender for that matter. Let's move on to the social dimension of it. And for this, I would request Dr. Shama to share her 2 cents about social empowerment. Dr. Shama.
Coming to social empowerment, actually, first of all, Ms. Bandhan, what I feel is to empower each and everyone, social and society. In society, once each and every person takes the responsibility in sense, consider himself as a leader. Every person, whether it is a mother, father, or his brother and sister, if everybody consider themselves as a leader, then a brother will give empowerment to his sister, because a leader is the one who just not has the power, he will empower others in terms of in a different ways. So as it is a contagious, so these things will be reflected to each and everyone. So everybody will be reflected. So as a society now, there is a lots of transformation is happening. Adoption is there. Right now we are in adoption stage, which needs to be transformed to implementation. So we are right now in the adoption stage. As soon as as people are getting as the internet, all these resources, and now as this type of programs, This type of programs, when people are listening, even if you see in some religions also, even if you see in Muslims or in girls, there are so many girls who are not coming up. Social equality is not there. So when they see people speaking up, when they see people, yes, I think even I can do, why not me? I think means this social means like this, it is a contagious. When each and every person, as I think Priyanka, she said that we need to take the responsibility. So as soon as we people start taking the responsibility, it's not like something as a like a work, something like a responsible citizen. As a responsible citizen, once we start doing that, like yes, bringing emotional intelligence factor here,
Right, that's
when we
important.
start doing that, yes, not just IQ, these all things will replicate and definitely will help even those people who are not ready to give social equalities to the girl child, whether it's a girl or boy, whoever, means they will get what do you call infected with this disease. What
Right,
is this
the infant.
empowerment? Yes, they
Right.
will be infected with this, and finally everybody will spread this social awareness. So before
And
social awareness, they
yeah,
just
and as
need
we all know that it's all about, I mean, every social aspect has an intertwining with the economic aspect. So how can we take
to,
this a step forward into in terms of economic empowerment?
in terms of economic, if we look at, Miss Bandhan, like it will be dumb up if we consider, if we leave off the world's half population or the world's potential population on the table. It will be in our loss of self loss, how self-loss the world's potential population is a women who is almost 80%. I mean, it's not a business. She is getting 80% consumer, consumer profits for the whole country, for the whole nation. So economic equality is the very, very important. Means as a person is self-aware that when he start empowering the ladies or women socially, to participate in each and every activity, whether it is in leadership roles, whether it is a community role, whether it is at home itself, in any role, she starts taking that responsibility. She starts building up that productivity. So that social knowledge, so finally she has potential. She has given herself, that she armed herself to go to that stage where she can bring up that economic business or economic independence, I can say. So what do you call the
Absolutely.
education is the one which will, the main goal of education is not getting IQ, but to bring economic independence, right? So this social education will lead to the economic independence when women is given this equal rights. And definitely one more last point that I want to tell here is, when if the women are not given social education, it is like a you are showing her half empty glass. You are showing her half empty glass. She will be just
Yes.
pessimistic. She will think that her role, her space in the world is still secluded. She is not the part of the space. She is not the part of the space. As soon as you start showing her not half empty glass, but half full glass, when you start showing her, means the way of thinking, means you empower her way of thinking. You empower her, especially if you see in the rural areas, they take it for granted that we are not for anything, we are not fit for anything, this is not for us, this is not our cup of tea. They consider it like that for themselves. Yes, in the urban areas, yes, there is a progress, but what about empowerment? Means it should be completely for the whole world, for the whole nation, not
Right.
just urban. So when you start showing to every area, every woman of every space, so when they feel that they have a space, they are valued. It's like a inclusiveness and diversity. You're calling them to the party and asking them to dance as well. You are calling them to the party, not just asking them to sit. That means you are not giving them that social or economic independence. You call them to the party, that is your social and economic, social independence, social empowerment, and ask them to dance. So that is nothing but economic independence. And when she dance, what do you call, atmosphere, the ambience will be empowered, and whole finally productivity, then finally progress, and finally outcome of life, that is happiness.
So true.
This
Being an assistant professor of economics, I have often been teaching students in economics that the household chores. I think there's an echo here again. Yeah. So the thing is, the point here is that as an economics professor, I have often been teaching students, and this comes from economics itself, that the household chores performed by the lady of the house are not a part of the GDP calculation. Now, that speaks volumes of the fact that, I mean, there's so much that needs to be done in terms of economic empowerment. And I think already Raina is not present here, but I'm sure she'd agree to it. We're already working on certain laws. I think things are falling into place wherein we are trying to incorporate the fact that the work which is done by the wife or by the mother or by the lady of the house has to be considered a part of the GDP itself. Till now, it's not being being a part of the GDP. So
I
I'm
am
sure
sure
Rana,
it will break records. It will break records if we start calculating that in GDP. Okay, because
yes, absolutely.
there is a zero account of that, and if it has to be
Yes.
accountable, then I think
It's actually called a non-economic activity.
if we start weighing that, Bandhan, I think you and me will hit records there of how we manage and balance all the things.
I'm sure that will hold true for all the panelists out there. But
Yes, absolutely. They're all Wonder
yeah,
Woman doing similar
yeah.
roles, I'm
So
sure.
yeah. So I think now let's move on to the political dimension. Priyanka, what's your take on the political empowerment part of gender equality?
So we've done well. I think in India we've passed laws which expects people to nominate women to their to 33% of our women population has to be
Yeah.
nominated. So that's a good start. I think we see more women, we see more voices more than more women in the political spectrum, and that said, it's an open game and it's an open field once you are in that chair. So
Yeah.
like we all have possibly at some level agreed that empowerment is not about gender or anybody with a particular association. I think we've made the laws, we've made the rules, we've had the elections, we are a democracy. We in fact have examples of non-democracies who are trying to put women in chair, and I think Germany has done a fantastic example with Ms. Merkel. So we have a lot to learn from each other, and we're doing well in that account. At least the conversation is open, and that as long as the conversation is open, the noises will be heard. So once the noises start becoming louder, we'd probably be more visible than we are now.
That was really short, sweet, crisp, but yet quite impactful. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for sharing your insight on that. And the next domain that we are covering is with Cheryl, and she's going to be discussing about the psychological empowerment part of it.
Very, very deep, right? Psychological. So I really personally believe when it comes to anything that we believe, our principles and things like that, it comes from here, right? And there's a belief that we have two minds. We have the conscious mind and we have the creative mind, right? So the subconscious mind and the creative mind. The subconscious mind is where we get all our beliefs, our culture, those norms from society and things like that. And it's been inserted from young, right? What we believe on life and things like that. And all these things we get from our parents, who is around us between the ages of 2 to 7. Okay, and all this is inserted from young. We don't really have a choice in it. It's what we observe, what we see, it just gets collected. That's why it's subconscious, right? And then you have your creative mind, which is like our principles. I want to fight for women's right. I want to do this. And despite your circumstances or what happened before in your life, right? You have this creative thing. And I don't know whether most of us realize. A lot of people talk about willpower. You must have willpower to do this. You must have willpower to do that. But a lot of us don't go back and look at what is that subconscious mind is telling us, right? Regardless of who we are. And that's why there's always this disconnect. So I believe it's very important for us to reprogram our mind. So regardless of our backgrounds, where we've been, which culture, which country we grew up, which village we had our experiences, we need to dig further when it comes to whether it's our rights, our principles, our ideas, and identify what is within us first, right? What is that subconscious programming that is already within our minds? Because if we want to move forward, if we want to not just take up spaces but own the spaces that we have, we need to understand ourselves, right? And what is our mind telling us? Then only we can change. Then only we can reprogram. Then only we can build on it. If not, it's like we're going against each other constantly. And I don't know whether any of you have had this before. I'm sure all of us have had this battle in our minds. It's like we grew up this way, telling us this is the way. And then you're like, no, your education, whatever, the people you've met, the experiences, the exposure is telling you, no, I should go against this. But in your mind, it's always holding you back. So that conscious change that you want your creative mind to actually uphold comes with habit, right? It comes with, if you go a little bit more psychological, right? It's getting your subconscious mind to actually absorb these principles or these ideas. And there are many, very many ways to do it, but it takes extensive discussion. If you guys are interested in that, please go and look up Dr. Bruce Lipton. We always have this idea that our DNA is like that. That's what we're born with. That's what we are. But if you really go deep into it, our DNA can change at any time. All right. Even our face, our shape of our face can change, let alone our DNA, right? So if we understand these concepts of our subconscious and our conscious mind, then we'll be able to make changes within ourselves. And as many of you have reflected over the course of this 1 hour plus, right? It always starts from within us. So if we want to empower others, we need to start here. So yeah, that's all I will say.
That really touched my heart. Thank you so much for sharing your insights here. And with that, we come to the end of this panel discussion. And before we ceremonially conclude this session, I would request each one of our panelists to, kind of share a small message, a short message with our audiences here, starting with Priyanka. Priyanka, you need to unmute yourself.
Thanks for taking me up first. I think I just want us to remember that empowerment is not about placard holding, ruckus creating people on the road. I think it's more than it's an inner strength, and it applies to, and it's gender neutral. In fact, it's neutral to gender, society, and other associations we have as people. So empowerment comes from within, and that's what I want us to believe.
Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful viewpoints across this entire course of panel discussion. It was indeed great to have you with us this evening. Now I'd move on to Rainar.
Thank you so much, Bandhan. It was such a pleasure to be here, such an honor to be here. I really, really enjoyed being there on this panel. It was very interesting. I have just one small message. You know what? I'm a beautiful woman, and I just like the way I am. And that's my light that I wish to give to you, because you're most beautiful the way you are. And let me tell you one thing. On this beautiful day of Wonder Woman Connect on Walks of Life of Bandhan Preet Mahajan, you have all what it takes to become victorious, independent, fearless, and no equality or gender inclusiveness can be bound if you really want to make it. If they don't give you a seat at the table, just bring a folding chair. I think even that will do.
Wow.
Okay.
Good one.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was such a pleasure to be with these lovely, beautiful women.
And Raina, I would just like to add on here, you're not just beautiful, you're a very strong woman at that. Because as I just told all the panelists here, her father's not well, but still, despite all that problems that she's facing on the personal front, she's been here and she's been maintaining that smile throughout. And she's been really kind and courteous enough to be here despite her problems. Thank you so much, Raina. Really means a lot. Let's move.
The health of your family.
Yes, we'll definitely. He's there in our prayers. He's there in our wishes, and I'm sure he's going to be well very, very soon, and he'll be fighting fit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Dr. Irene. Dr. Irene, your last final word.
Yes, in this case, I would like to greet Dr. Eva Voss from BNP Paribas in Germany and Austria and Switzerland. She said, diversity is a fact and inclusion is a mindset. And that's what I want to give to the audience.
Wow. So beautiful, so strong, so impactful, and so beautiful. And Cheryl, you need to unmute yourself, Cheryl.
Sorry about that. Okay, I
No
really
worries.
believe that women should not just take up spaces, we should own them. And when I say own them, I don't mean economically. Like what Reina said, right? If they don't allow us a space, we create that opportunity. And that's why it's not just about taking up roles or being board of directors or CEOs or as Priyanka said, right? Like being a politician, having those labels and those roles. Not just that, it's how we own those spaces that are most important and what we do with them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's move on to Dr. Sharma. Dr. Sharma, your final take on our topic for the day.
First of all, thank you, Ms. Bandhan. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity with the wonderful people over here. It's glad to see everyone on this platform. And my message is, dear friends, nobody can make you or feel you inferior without your consent. Without your consent, nobody can make you feel inferior. So don't give your remote control for happiness, your charge for happiness. You are the one who choose what is happiness. Your happiness is not dependent on anyone else. So be empowered with your consent, not with anybody's consent. This is your perception, your life. Take charge of your life, take charge of your happiness. So be happy and spread happiness everywhere.
Thank you so much for that profound message. And with that, this brings us to the end of our panel discussion for this day. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for taking time out of your hectic schedules and being here and sharing your valuable insights. I'm sure you must have added value to a whole lot of lives out there with your thoughts, with your viewpoints. And that's the primary purpose of being here on Walks of Life. Thank you once again to all our live audiences who were there with us. And with that, we've come to the ceremonial close of this panel discussion. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Okay. Goodbye. Have a